And here is an honest question. Have you ever had to run away from an alligator? How fast can alligators actually run? I can remember my grandfather, child of the Depression, used to collect golf balls that people had hit into the woods and sell them back to golfers for a dime down in Florida when he was a kid. And he always said that you had to be on the lookout for the alligators, and I think I believe him now, and that brings us to the brilliance of what Donald Trump just did today. Something that 80 million Americans definitely voted for, and another return on not only what makes sense, but what we call common sense on this show. After 4 years of utter insanity and chaos at the southern border that we were all told was normal, 15 million illegals break into our country, and we're told, yeah, nothing to see here. And U.S. taxpayers put them up in luxury hotels, 4- and 5-star hotels, not that far away from where we're broadcasting tonight. We gave them cell phones with cell phone plans. Think about that. Meaning they could call whoever they wanted, whenever they wanted. We didn't give them calling cards like I had when I was in college. We gave them full-on AT&T cell phone plans. Government planes flew them free of charge all over the country except to Martha's Vineyard. That did not work so well. Not Martha's Vineyard. They were thrown off the vineyard. They were all served culturally appropriate, sensitive meals. We gave them clothes. We gave them free health care. Whatever they needed, they got. When all we really needed to do was send them back to wherever it is they came from, and now that's going to happen. The President of the United States flew to South Florida today to tour Alligator Alcatraz, a new ICE detention facility built to house illegal criminal aliens, something the President was asked about this morning.
I guess that's the concept. This is not a nice business. I guess that's the concept. If the snakes are fast, but alligators we're going to teach them how to run away from an alligator, okay? If they escape prison, how to run away. Don't run in a straight line. Run like this. And you know what? Your chances go up about 1%. Okay? Not a good thing.
Okay, so this is a very good point. We looked into this. The American alligator can grow up to 15 feet long. They weigh over 500 pounds. They can live for more than 50 years. They can run up to 35 miles an hour on dry land. They're even faster in the water. And there are over 200,000 American alligators right now living in the Florida Everglades. And you've got to trek through almost 50 miles of Everglades, wetlands to make it to Miami, meaning nobody is ever going to escape from this prison and live to tell the tale. And that's the point. Meaning Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis just created the greatest illegal alien deterrent that we've ever seen. And Kristi Noem wants to roll this out nationwide.
This facility is exactly what I want every single governor in this country to consider doing with us. A young man named Jimmy Percival in my office, my general counsel, who came from Florida and used to work here, called up the Attorney General and the governor and said, hey, what do you think about partnering with us on a detention facility that we could put in place that would allow us to bring individuals there? There's an airstrip close by. You guys volunteered the assets that you have and the connections that you have, and worked with Kevin extensively so that we could come here, have their due process given, and return them home to their countries. And in 8 days, this facility has been stood up.
8 days. And that's what 80 million Americans voted for. Instead of giving illegal aliens iPhones, we're giving them alligators. And today we heard on CNN that Alligator Alcatraz is inhumane. Is it? We don't think so. It's got air conditioning. Everyone gets 3 meals a day and a bed. And if you don't want to get eaten by an alligator, don't try to escape and you'll be just fine. That's not inhumane. That's really good advice. It was the same concept with the real Alcatraz in San Francisco, surrounded by water in the middle of San Francisco Bay. And we sent the worst of the worst there for years. The currents there, deadly and constant. The average water temperature, 55 degrees. And that's in the summer. And it's 1.5 miles from shore. And even with all of that and the threat of sharks, great white sharks in San Francisco Bay, 3 inmates escaped from Alcatraz in 1962 and were never heard from again. They even made a great movie about it starring Clint Eastwood. But something tells me that's not going to happen down in Florida. The site has 5,000 beds and was built on the location of an old abandoned airport. And the only way out is by deportation, unless, of course, you escape.
Very soon, this facility will house some of the most menacing migrants, some of the most vicious people on the planet. We're surrounded by miles of treacherous swampland, and the only way out is really deportation. And a lot of these people are self-deporting back to their country where they came from.
And that right there is what this is really all about. When illegal aliens know there are real, actual consequences for coming here illegally, they'll stop coming. And that's the entire point of this. But environmental groups are beside themselves. The Friends of the Everglades, writing that this is not only cruel, it threatens the Everglades ecosystem that state and federal taxpayers have spent billions of dollars to protect, which is a really interesting point of view, considering the prison, again, was built on land that was already developed, and the only impact on the environment is maybe more food for those alligators. But maybe the Friends of the Everglades should consider changing their name to the Friends of Illegal Alien Criminals, because we don't think it's cruel to take people like that off the streets, and we think the parents of Laken Riley and Jocelyn Nungri and Rachel Morin and so many more who are never coming home would probably agree with that. Under Joe Biden, average monthly border encounters were at 160,000 a month. Today, that number is at almost zero. Homeland Security posting this photo on X today, alligators outside Alligator Alcatraz wearing hats that said coming soon. And they had little ice hats on. It was AI. And this is just the start. Facilities like this are going to be all over the country. And the big, beautiful bill is going to help with all of that. Democrats cheered when Joe Biden hired 87,000 IRS agents to audit the American people. But for some reason, they don't support Donald Trump trying to hire new ICE agents. It doesn't make any sense. But it might not matter. Alligator Alcatraz has already served its purpose as a deterrent, and it's only been a day.
When you have illegal murderers and rapists and heinous criminals in a detention facility surrounded by alligators, yes, I do think that's a deterrent for them to try to escape. We do.
So for some reason, nobody's really fleshed this out. We want to. Outside the gates, it's not just alligators. I lived in Florida for 5 years. There are black bears, panthers, the Florida Panthers, not the hockey team, the cat, scorpions, black widow spiders, those are deadly. Bobcats, coyotes, mountain lions, all in the Everglades, which are almost the size of Connecticut. And they are all awaiting some of the worst people in the country if they try to escape. And that's the whole point.
Information. Truth. Is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.